fox lady just walked through the door?
Oh man, that's Lithofayne. You gotta be doing some artsy or business type stuff to get with her. But man, she'll sure enough put you through there. I mean, she the best out of all of them.
Oh man, she fine and all, but I done had some chicks who really put it down.
No, buddy, I'm telling you, they ain't got nothing on Lithofayne.
Alright, man. Well, go holler at her and see what she say.
What's up, Fayne? You looking good, girl.
What's up, baby? How you
Check
doing?
this
How
out.
you doing?
I got one for you tonight.
Yeah, well, who is this guy? And how old is he? I don't want nobody wasting my time. Besides, I'm in the mood to show somebody the ropes tonight.
No, now, Fayne, it ain't one of them types. But this dude right here, down what you do. He said you can't be that good.
Yeah, well, you tell your man that we're about to see about that. And after tonight, the only name he gonna be able to scream out for the rest of his life is Fayne. Lithofayne Pridgon. Honey, we don't even need to do an intro. If you've watched my other videos, she showed up in plenty of them. All I want to tell you is this is Ashley with Ashley Says So, and I am back with another old Hollywood scandal video. Also, make sure to go get your merch, and if you want to see the Amazon wish list, it is in my description. Now, let's go ahead and get to this disclaimer so we can get to the tea. The scandalous tea.
Not sure what's true or false in this video. I take gossip and tea and scandal from online, from books, from magazine, from word of mouth, and I ball it all up and I tell you guys a story. The whole video is for entertainment purposes. I have done my research. Make sure you do yours. Now, let's get to the video.
Sometime around the 1930s, there was this teen girl that we're gonna call Miss Pearl. Now, Miss Pearl lived in a neighborhood in Georgia called Dirty Spoon. And Dirty Spoon was the place of loose women. All Miss Pearl ever saw day in and day out were a bunch of ladies partying and having babies with no husbands in sight. Whenever there was a show come to town, they would make sure they was at that show so they could see if they could get a chance with somebody who was performing on stage. Miss Pearl decided that she would start hanging out with these women. And on the night that Miss Pearl went with these women to a show, the person that was on stage was dancer Eddie Clay. And it was on this night that Miss Pearl conceived a baby who would turn out to be a girl by the name of Lithofayne Pridgon. Now, Lithofayne Pridgon was born sometime in the year 1940, and just like her mother before her, Miss Pearl, Lithofayne was also very intrigued with this loose lady partying lifestyle. Also, just like her mother before her, Lithofayne wanted to go see the guys in the band. By the time Lithofayne Pridgon was 15 years old, she ended up going to see a musician. His name was Little Willie John. And I need to put a trigger warning right here because Lithofayne Pridgon was just like Billie Holiday. She was just like Patsy Cline. Society back then and today may not have agreed with what they did and when they did it, but hey, these girls did not care. They did what they wanted to do. And it's not like they deserve to be locked in a dungeon somewhere. So I'm going to tell their story and, you know, just is what it is. So to get to it, after the show was over, Lithofayne makes her way backstage to see if she is the one chosen, and baby, she is. As a matter of fact, honey, Little Willie John don't want to let her go. So he starts telling anybody who will listen that Lithofayne is going on the bus with him. But baby, why come the story get messy real quick though? Because the folks say that on Lithofayne's way to the bus, she sees the band leader leaned up against a dark wall, kissing and stroking on some woman. And child, why come when the band leader and the woman stepped into the light, it ended up being Lithofayne's mama, child, Miss Pearl. Woo! Child. Honey, I guess mama had to have a life too. Let's move on. Now, the story says that as soon as Lithofayne stepped onto the tour bus, she became fast friends with another singer, and that singer's name was Etta James. And per Etta James, Miss Fayne was already something else, but baby, Etta said she transformed even more when she started traveling with Little Willie John. Honey said Lithofayne started wearing very, very high heels and super duper short skirt. Matter of fact, said that if she couldn't feel her booty jiggle out of the skirt a little bit, then baby, she ain't want it. And Etta James also alleged that not only did Fayne become the traveling groupie companion of Little Willie John, she also alleged that Little Willie John is actually the father of Lithofayne Pridgon's first child. And honey, if you think that's some tea, wait until you hear who Etta said fathered Lithofayne's second child. But that's coming a long way on deeper in the story. Right now, let's move on with this. Now, per Etta, even though hanging around Lithofayne was all fun, they'd have a good time, sometimes Etta would become ashamed because Lithofayne was very bold and very free. And she had no problem walking up to a man and being like, oh yeah, you cute. I'm coming home with you and I can tell you a big dick daddy and I want a piece of that. Child said that she used to say the words big dick daddy so much she had to shorten it up to BDD. And said the men would be standing around proud, honey, when she would point them out and proclaim, look ladies, right over there. Yeah, that's a BDD right there, baby. And if you're wondering just how Lithofayne was running around calling folks BDDs and telling them that she was going to come home with them tonight, even though she was on this tour with Little Willie John, the folks say it's because Little Willie John didn't mind. Matter of fact, the folks say that Little Willie John was sometimes the one bringing other men into her life. You know, if he had a friend that he felt like should try Fayne out, he would bring him and tell Fayne, hey, my homeboy said what's up. And if your hair is blown back, then baby, brush it back down, because honestly, that's just the kind of party lifestyle that it was back then. Oh, let me tell you, you know how I said Little Willie John would be like my homeboy this, my homeboy that? Rumor has it that's kind of how Lithofayne got with Sam Cooke. Allegedly, Sam and Little Willie John were doing a show together in New York, and Little Willie John had Fayne by his side showing her off like he always did. Matter of fact, they said one of his favorite things to do when he was showing her off was to spin her around and grab a firm piece of her behind and say something like, my, whoo, you see this right here, boy? This good enough to hold a church in it. Whatever that's supposed to mean. And the folks say that Sam didn't say anything about getting with Lithofayne at that moment, but after the show, Lithofayne ended up coming back up to the hotel suite that she was sharing with Little Willie John. And instead of finding Little Willie John in there, when she walked through the door, there was Sam Cooke. And per Lithofayne, Sam was kind of just standing there looking out of a window, basically trying to act like he wasn't interested. So she just starts to walk by him to go do what she's doing, and she claimed that when she passed him by, he grabbed her arm like this, and then he pulled her close to him, and then he gave her one of the deepest, most passionate kisses she'd ever had. Of course, that night ended up with some bump and grind, and baby, I guess it was good because gossip claims that Sam Cooke actually pulled Lithofayne away from Little Willie John for a while. Lithofayne spoke about her time with Sam Cooke, and she said that Sam Cooke was very sweet. She said that he was a true gentleman and such a good lover that not only did he make her whole body feel good, he actually took her up under his wing. He gave her some pointers when it came to music and business, and even gave her a nickname, which was Chinesey, because of the shape of her eyes. And you can tell that Lithofayne had gotten pretty close to Sam Cooke because he was one of the guys that ended up being able to meet her mother, Miss Pearl. But honey, you know Miss Pearl was a mess, because why come the story says that after she met Sam, she ended up getting with and moving in with one of his brothers? And like I said before, I guess mama had to get hers too. Now regarding Lithofayne, no matter how close she and Sam Cooke had gotten, she always felt like she needed to be free. And she moved on right to a man who owned several hotels, motels, and nightclubs. And he had some underworld dealings too, because he was known as the Kingpin of Harlem. And his name was Jack Taylor, or aka Fat Jack. Now since Lithofayne and Etta James were best friends at this time, she ended up hooking Etta James up with Fat Jack's brother. His name was Willie. And girl, Lithofayne and Etta know they was wrong, because why they sitting up here double dating these brothers, but also was sitting up there cheating on them? The folks say that one night they told their men that they was gonna go out of town, get some girl time. But turns out Etta was sneaking around with a man named Red Dillard, a notorious gangster, and Lithofayne was sneaking around with a man by the name of C.B. Atkins, who was Sarah Vaughn's husband. Now, baby, this whole thing is about to be a scandalous thing, child. Because how about it was Sarah Vaughn's husband, CB, who came up with the idea? Oh, he was telling the whole group, hey, y'all, I got an idea. How about we do a foursome and go out of town? I'll take care of it. And he sure was taking care of it, because the out of town was out to New Jersey at his wife Sarah's newly built home. Baby, it was so messed up. Not only did CB invite his lover and her friends to his wife's house, he told them that they could stay a week. You know why? Because his wife Sarah was gone touring overseas in Europe. So the folks say that Etta and Fayne Fayne get over to this house with their men, and said that Fayne started to show her behind. Etta said that Lithofayne was sleeping with CB all up in his and Sarah's marital bed. She was going all through Sarah's closet, wearing her clothes, putting on Sarah's makeup, even had the nerve to put on her nightgown and slippers, honey. Just parading all around in the woman's stuff. And the folks say that Etta James didn't like that. Etta said, now it's one thing for you to be sitting up here sleeping with the woman's husband, but it's a whole nother thing to be disrespecting Sarah Vaughn in a manner like this. So this was the first time that Etta James gave Lithofayne a serious side eye, but baby, it sure enough wouldn't be the last time. So the word on the street says that after Etta James and Lithofayne spent their week away with their side dudes, they came back to New York, and Lithofayne continued to talk to Fat Jack, but allegedly she started to get the sense that he was a gay man. And so she ended up leaving him alone, but they remained very, very close friends because, see, they were into some of the same things. See, Fat Jack loved to throw orgy parties, and Lithofayne loved to be there so she could test out the assortment of people that he would have around. And gossip claims that in the year 1962, when Lithofayne was around 21, 22 years old, she went to one of these parties. So Lithofayne is allegedly participating in all of the orgy stuff that's going on, but this young, skinny, brown-skinned guy caught her eye. And so Lithofayne walked on over to him, but when she starts rubbing on him, allegedly he kind of pulled away. So she ends up asking him, hey boy, what's your name? And he tells her James, aka Jimmy. Gossip claims that Lithofayne was kind of just like, you know, well, I guess I couldn't get that one, not knowing that fate would actually have them meet up another day. But in the meantime, she continued to enjoy herself at this orgy. Now, soon after this wild night, the folks say that Lithofayne was ready to get back on the road. She was ready to find her another BDD musician. So in 1963, allegedly, she went back on tour with Etta James, and it was on this tour that she would give a name for all of the men she messed with. She called it her famous repertoire. And they say that she would come up to Etta James daily saying, ooh girl, you wouldn't believe what BDD I got added to my repertoire now. And when Etta said who, they said it was Carl Gardner of the Coasters, said that Fathead Newman, Ray Charles's saxophone player, got added to the repertoire. James Brown got added to the repertoire, but the folks say that James Brown tried to keep Fayne, didn't want her to go nowhere with nobody else. Child said she had to shoot the deuces at him. After James Brown, the next people on her list were all of the Midnighters. Baby, you heard me right. The folks say that the whole group got added to the repertoire. After them, it was Jackie Wilson, and gossip claims that Lithofayne was with Jackie Wilson the same way that she was with Sam Cooke and Little Willie John. Like she really had a connection with Jackie Wilson. But this connection was not strong enough to tie her down. And so after this wild tour with nothing but wild sex, Lithofayne was ready to go back to New York and kind of sit down and chill for a minute. And so in 1964, she ended up back in Harlem spending some time with Sam Cooke. And on this particular night, she and Sam were visiting Sam's brother and her mother, Miss Pearl. And rumor has it her mother, Miss Pearl, told her to head to the store to buy some meat. She was cooking or something. And so Fayne starts walking to the store, but while she's walking, her hips start to sway towards the music coming from either the Apollo or the building beside the Apollo. And when she got over there by it, a young, skinny, brown-skinned musician was outside practicing his guitar. As Fayne got closer, she recognized his raw-boned figure immediately. He was Jimi Hendrix, the one that got away. So she sees Jimmy and Jimmy sees her, and they start to converse and do some catching up, and allegedly Jimmy just kind of slips out that he wants to work with Sam Cooke. And of course, Fayne at this moment had heavy dealings with Sam Cooke. But y'all, I guess she thought she had more pull than she really had. Because gossip claims she told Jimi Hendrix that she could guarantee him a job with Sam Cooke, you know, no problem. But then Jimi Hendrix gets in there with Sam with a permed up slick head and some shiny short pants on. And Sam was like, you know, I'm sorry, we're not looking for a guitarist at the time. And showed Jimi Hendrix the door. Allegedly, Lithofayne had to stop herself from giggling or chuckling when Jimmy came out of the door because she also was laughing at his hair and his pants and stuff like that. But soon she saw that he was really angry and he was also very hurt. And that is when she decided then and there that she would help this young man, Jimi Hendrix, on his journey to stardom. She and Jimi Hendrix got a room at the Cecil Hotel and they moved in together. She started to help him write his music. She helped him find better clothes and a better hairstyle. And she basically started to take care of him. And everything was running all well and good and very smoothly until Jimi Hendrix started to fall in love with Lithofayne. And this was fine because Lithofayne in her own way loved him back, but Jimi Hendrix wanted her to be his and his alone. And Fayne just wasn't about to do that. She still wanted to see other men when she wanted to. Now she did try to compromise a little bit and stop being so flamboyant with it. You know what I'm saying? She wouldn't really let him know she was seeing other men, and she wouldn't have these men all up in his face. But she was simply not a one-man woman, and nobody was going to make her be. And so she and Jimi Hendrix started to argue about this a lot. And Lithofayne tried to do several things to combat this problem. Rumor has it that she told Jimmy to go out and have all of the women he wanted. You know, she let him know, you can have 50 women. That doesn't matter to me. I'm still gonna love you. She went so far as to bring home her own homegirls for him to mess around with or for them to enjoy together. And per the story, Jimi Hendrix did end up sleeping with all of the women that she suggested and many, many more, but it didn't matter. He still would flip out anytime she tried to sneak off and go see another man. So as much as Lithofayne loved Jimi Hendrix, she told him that she had to move on. She had to continue being a free spirit, a butterfly. However, they did continue to meet up off and on throughout the year. Now, after Lithofayne stopped living with Jimi Hendrix, she felt that, you know, maybe she could have her own career. And so she started singing background for Bobby Blue Bland. But the folks say that when she first came to practice, she sounded so bad that Bobby Blue Bland stopped the whole practice and walked up to her and was like, hey, you, Faye, can you move back away from the mic? And also, don't sing, just kind of mimic the song by moving your mouth. And he did this because Lithofayne sounded so bad. I mean, he wanted her to continue being a background singer because he thought she was so beautiful, but child, he wasn't finna let her mess up his song. After her stint with Bobby Blue Bland, it's rumored that she signed a record deal with Ahmet Ertegun. But the story says after Fayne heard herself on the playback of the record, she told Ahmet that she would curse him out and ruin him if he ever put the record out because she felt she sounded so bad. So the record stayed on the shelf. And after these 2 tries at having a singing career, I guess this is when Lithofayne just basically accepted that she wasn't going to be a singer. You know, she would just continue being a muse and a groupie for other singers. Allegedly, she went back on the road in 1966. I don't know if this is with Etta James or with some other musician, but this time she added Otis Redding to the repertoire, and allegedly he also wanted to hold on to her, but she told him no. She also added Johnny Guitar Watson. She added Nate Nelson of the Flamingo, Brooke Benton, Charles Pfizer of the Olympian, and she even added the man who shall not be named, Bilson Stickett. And if you let Etta James tell it, this man who shall not be named, Bilson Stickett, was not only on the repertoire, baby Etta said that he was Mr. Repertoire. She said that he stayed in Fayne's tight grip. Literally. Now, as Lithofayne is adding more and more men to her list, she is getting older and older. And I don't know if that starts to bother her because she's getting older, but honey, her taste certainly starts to change, and not for the better. You see, she left the stage of Big Dick Daddies or BDDs, and now she floated into this stage that she called Young Tender. And these young tenders were young men 17 years of age or younger. Etta James said, Basically, Lithofayne felt like it was her duty to help these boys grow up, introduce them to their manhood. It made her feel good to do that. And Etta James also told a story about how she and Lithofayne attended one of Fat Jack's many parties. Now, I don't know if this was an orgy party or just a regular party, but while they were there, a young boy who seemed like he was around 15 years old came walking in. And Lithofayne, who's probably around 25 years old at this point, whispers to Etta, "Ooh, girl, look at that young tender over there that just walked in. That's about to be my new BDD." And so Etta looks and sees this young boy, and she says she whispered back to Lithofayne, "Girl, you wouldn't do nothing like that." Said Lithofayne told her, "Oh baby, yeah, I would. Watch me." And took off walking towards the young man, grabbed him by the hand, and left out of the party. And baby, by the time they come back in, they say the young man was walking funny and looking lovesick in the eyes. And this actually became a fun pastime for Lithofayne. Lithofayne admitted herself that she would hang around clubs and parties to see if any young tenders showed up so she could rev their engine. Oh, check me out. She would even have Fat Jack and other men in her circle kind of keeping a lookout for her. They see somebody walk in, they yelling out, hey, Faye, or hey, Fayne, I got somebody for you. I got you one. He one of them young tenders you like. Now that really is a scandalous thing, child. And then on top of that, let me tell you 2 more things Lithofayne would do in her pastime. The first one is get folks told. Baby, she had no problem putting you in your place. The mouth was slick, honey. And the second thing she used to do was tell people's fortune. Rumor has it she told Eddie Hazel's fortune. Eddie Hazel from Funkadelic. Baby, she told his fortune. How about after it was over, this dude stabbed himself in the hand and then took the bloody knife and wrote her name on his arm with his blood. Now, I don't know if this was some voodoo, hoodoo, Wicca, white magic or what, but I do know that it sure enough scared some people away from her. But other people like Eddie Hazel himself and Etta James, they love to come to Lithofayne so she could either tell them their future or what they were in a past life. But at one point, Lithofayne herself thought she had some dark energy around her. Let me tell you about it. So by the late 1960s, Fayne had once again joined up with Jimi Hendrix. And this Jimmy wasn't no struggling Jimmy. This was famous Jimi Hendrix. So they say she was visiting him in Europe. And as soon as she got there, Jimi Hendrix, who had been with tons of other women by this point, was still right back to being her lapdog. And baby, whatever spell she had over him, honey, he wasn't even trying to break it. Because the folks say that when she came to see him at this point, he was dating a lady by the name of Devin Wilson. And Devin actually was going by the name Ada at this time, but I'm gonna call her Devin. And allegedly, Fayne got into the car with Jimmy and Devin. Jimmy was making introductions, and he was telling Devin, hey, I want you to meet my friend Lithofayne. She's this, she's that. And the whole time, Devin just sitting up there silent, wouldn't speak, frowned up in the face, baby. Guess she was upset. Baby, Jimi Hendrix grabbed her by the back of her neck like this, like that, swung her face all the way over from this side and swung her around and had her right nose to nose with Lithofayne. And then he said, I said, this is Faye, fuck face. Now be nice and say hi. So honey, I guess Devin said a little quick hi and then ran and found some ice for her neck. But the folks say Devin still didn't get enough, and honey, she tried it again. Rumor has it the 3 of them went to a party, and I guess they were all up dancing, having a good time, but then Jimmy and Lithofayne and a couple of more people, not Devin though, went to sit down. So soon Devin is done dancing, and she goes over to sit down, but she wants to sit next to Jimmy. So she starts telling everybody, move, you move, you move, and then she gets to Lithofayne, and she's like, get up, move, so I can sit right here. And so Lithofayne gets up. Baby said Jimmy looked up at Devin and was like, oh no. This seat is for Faye. And then took Lithofayne by the hand and pulled her down to sit her down on his lap. Basically letting Devin and everybody else know this was his special girl. And I don't know what Devin did after this, but baby, I know I would have been gone. Now, of course, this whole thing was messy, but apparently real ones who knew Jimi Hendrix from the start would tell you even today that Lithofayne was always the love of his life. A lot of people say that if Lithofayne had just agreed to be faithful to Jimi Hendrix, he most likely would have married her. And gossip claims he never wanted to marry any of the other women. he was with. Matter of fact, he even wrote a song for Lithofayne, or should I say about Lithofayne, and this song was called Foxy Lady. Child, the boy was so lovesick, even talked to Lithofayne's mama, asking the mama like, why won't she get serious with me? Why won't she just only be with me? And said Lithofayne's mama told him straight out, you know, son, don't pay my daughter no mind. You know, she falls in love with a new man every other week. So just like every other time Fayne and Jimmy had met up over the years, you know, this time was no different. She had spent a little bit of time with him, and now she was ready to move on. But this time when she left Jimi Hendrix, he ended up passing away. And this cut Lithofayne down to her core, because even though she didn't want to be with Jimi Hendrix, you know, and she never wanted to marry him, she did love him in her own way. And so she kind of spiraled into a semi-depression, and it wasn't only because of Jimi Hendrix's death, it was also because Fayne started to kind of feel like she was almost a black widow or had a black shadow around her, because all of the men that she loved or had some type of connection with, they all ended up passing away at very early ages. Little Willie John died very early. Sam Cooke died very early. Otis Redding, even though I don't know if their connection was that deep, he ended up dying early. And then later on, Jackie Wilson ended up dying a early death. Did this pattern have something to do with her? She wasn't sure, but the two deaths that affected her the most out of all of them were Little Willie John and Jimi Hendrix's. And per Etta James, the reason why the deaths of these two men probably stood out the most for Lithofayne is because they were the two fathers of her children. That's right. Jimi Hendrix was allegedly the father of Lithofayne's second daughter. And I know some of y'all Jimi Hendrix fans gonna be sitting up there arguing in the comments. I don't know. I'm just telling you what Etta James said. Now what I do know is that Lithofayne truly did indeed have two daughters. But I believe she sent them to live with relatives while she continued on living her loose lady lifestyle. And speaking of the loose lady lifestyle, this new decade of the 70s would bring even more BDDs into her life. The first one was Marvin Gaye, and the second one was Sly Stone. And baby, by the time Fayne left Sly, she was thanking her lucky stars that she was still alive. Now, according to these old Hollywood scandalous streets, Lithofayne met Sly Stone after a show at Madison Garden. She was backstage, and when Sly saw her, he came walking up to her and telling her, "Ooh, little mama, you look good. I got to record you. You just too fine for me not to." And so she got on the plane with him to fly back to his place in Cali. Matter of fact, it was Sly Stone's house in Cali that Lithofayne was featured on when she did that interview for the Jimi Hendrix documentary. So anyways, Lithofayne gets back to California with Sly Stone. But just like Jimi Hendrix had in the past, Sly Stone started to develop a dependence on Lithofayne. She started to become his caretaker because Sly wanted her to take care of him when he got high. You know, he wanted her to make sure he ate, make sure he woke up when he needed to, when it was something really important, make sure nobody was stealing from him when he was too far gone off his drugs. It basically came to the point where Lithofayne wasn't having fun anymore. This is more of her having responsibilities. And she could tell also that Sly was trying to have that deep bond with her that she had with like Jimi Hendrix, Sam Cooke, and all of them, but she didn't want that with Sly. So Lithofayne started telling Sly, you know, the wind is blowing me in another direction. You know, honey, I had fun, but I got to go. But every time she did, Sly would tell her, no, you can't go anywhere. You know, I need you. You can't leave. But one day she woke up and she didn't tell Sly anything. She just took off. She went and she stayed gone for, I think, 2 days. So after she was done getting some time away, having some time to herself, she ended up coming back to Sly's house. And when she gets there, all of these people who were usually inside of the house, and I'm talking about like the big drug entourages, you know, the entourages all those 70 rock stars used to have around them, just all those people. So all of these type of people were outside of the house now. And not only were they outside of the house, some of them were hiding in the bushes, hiding around the back of the house. So Fayne is walking up like, you know, what the heck is going on? And suddenly a lot of them start running up to her. God, Fayne, we're so glad you're back. Whoa, you are just a sight to see. And so Lithofayne is like, what's going on? Baby, why come these folks then told her that they were all sitting around the house the day she left, and suddenly they start hearing Sly Stone from upstairs hollering her name, Lithofayne, Faye. And of course, Lithofayne was gone. So since Sly couldn't find her, baby, this dude went and pulled out a gun and started shooting past people's heads, child. As a matter of fact, gossip claims he put 3 bullet holes in the wall because he was upset that he couldn't find Lithofayne. So after he did all of this, all of the entourage, everybody was there, everybody ran outside. So Lithofayne is just kind of sitting here listening to this story, eyes wide, and then she starts to slowly walk into the house. And so she goes all around the downstairs, doesn't find Sly, goes upstairs to the bedroom. And when she opens the door, Sly is sitting on the bed in a lotus position with his gun sitting on the bed right beside him. When he looks over and sees Lithofayne at the door, he says, "Where you been, goddammit? I almost lost my mind with you not here. Don't you ever go off like that again." And Lithofayne is like, "Well, Sly, I was just getting some time to myself. And also, all those people downstairs want to know, what did you do before you met me? How did you handle all your pain and suffering before then?" Said Sly answered, "Tell them motherfuckers I suffer." And after this crazy episode, baby Fayne was ready to go. She was ready to get out of there, baby. So Lithofayne left like the next 3 days after that crazy episode. Now that story with Sly Stone was the last full complete story that I could find on Lithofayne. Everything left will be told in kind of pieces. And the first piece I have to tell you is that after she left from living with Sly Stone, she moseyed on over and started living with Eddie Hazel, whom I mentioned earlier. But soon, I guess she was looking to go back to her roots or back to something more stable. So she either moved in with Etta James or she lived somewhere very close to Etta James. And I believe this was the late 70s, early 80s. And it was during this time right here where she got her second major side eye from Etta James. And baby, that was because Etta sat up and watched Lithofayne come to her house, sashay right up to her 16-year-old son and start flirting with him. Which I'm guessing would be things like whispering in his ear, making him giggle, stroking his arm with her fingers. And baby, before you know it, the heat of anger rose so fast up in Etta James, she wanted to bend that finger back. Child say she was finna lay Lithofayne out because that was her son. Child, the folks say that Etta James had to tell Lithofayne to get on out, and they couldn't hang together no more because she was finna have to whoop up on her. Now, after this spat between Etta James and Lithofayne, I'm not sure if they were ever cool again. But I guess Lithofayne just kind of moved on with the wind because there are a bunch of legends and tales about her. Allegedly, Lithofayne continued to be called in to break in the new boys in the band. There were also tales about how she had certain police officers wrapped around her fingers. So much so that they would find reasons to bust people that they believed possessed drugs so they could take those drugs from the criminals and go and give them to Lithofayne. Because we haven't discussed it here, but yes, she liked to do drugs. Now, I guess it was also during the mid-80s or maybe even the late 80s that Lithofayne wanted to settle down and she got her 2 daughters to live with her. And although I can't confirm this, I can confirm that the 2 daughters' names were Fifi and Magic. And according to the gossip, it was Fifi that was alleged to be Jimi Hendrix's child. In fact, there is a Facebook comment that I will put up at the end of the video that says that Fifi used to allegedly say that Jimi Hendrix may be her father. But unfortunately, the truth will never be able to be determined because Fifi died in a horrific, fiery car crash back in 1993 or 1994. The folks say she was around 26 or 27 years old at the time. As far as Lithofayne's other daughter, Magic, I really couldn't find much information about her at all, but I hope she is doing well, and I wonder what she feels about her paternity. Because remember, Etta James alleged that little Willie John was the father of one of Fayne's children. But child, who knows? Now Lithofayne herself would end up living the rest of her days in Las Vegas, and she would do interviews every blue moon. But during these interviews, she would make sure that she never just blabbed and told the whole story. She would just kind of give pieces out here and there because she felt like she needed to be paid for her information. And so she started to prepare for the day that that big payday came by writing a book. And in this book, it was supposed to have something included called the Faye tape. And these were supposed to be never before seen songs that Jimmy had written while he was with her and about her. The Faye tapes also allegedly included love letters that Jimmy had written her. But unfortunately, Lithofayne Pridgon ended up passing away before she could finish the book. And apparently nobody knows where the unfinished manuscript is, if it even is anywhere. So to wrap it up about the foxy lady with all of that persuasion, Miss Lithofayne Pridgon passed away at her Las Vegas home at the age of 80. There doesn't seem to be any particular cause of death. It seems like it was just brought on by old age. And say what you will about her, at the end of the day, she is a lady that definitely lived life on her terms, and she lived life to the fullest. And so this is the end of the old Hollywood scandalous story on Miss Lithofayne Pridgon. Don't forget to stick around for the Facebook post I'm about to put up. But if you like this video, please like this video. Also, if you're new here, please subscribe. If you've been sitting on the bench, like I always say, get your messy tail in here and subscribe. I love y'all so much. I'll see you guys again soon.
Woo, man. Who's that foxy lady just walked through the door?
Oh man, that's Lithofayne. You gotta be doing some artsy or business type stuff to get with her. But man, she'll sure enough put you through there. I mean, she the best out of all of them.
Oh man, she fine and all, but I done had some chicks who really put it down.
No, buddy, I'm telling you, they ain't got nothing on Lithofayne.
Alright, man. Well, go holler at her and see what she say.
What's up, Fayne? You looking good, girl.
What's up, baby? How you
Check
doing?
this
How
out.
you doing?
I got one for you tonight.
Yeah, well, who is this guy? And how old is he? I don't want nobody wasting my time. Besides, I'm in the mood to show somebody the ropes tonight.
No, now, Fayne, it ain't one of them types. But this dude right here, down what you do. He said you can't be that good.
Yeah, well, you tell your man that we're about to see about that. And after tonight, the only name he gonna be able to scream out for the rest of his life is Fayne.